Hey yo, friend SB here. And today we're going to be reviewing two technical characters released in Season 14, that being Armored All Might and Thousand Hand Break Shigaraki. I'm grouping them together to avoid being redundant, as I wanted to take an opportunity to talk about characters in the context of the technical role. As always, I'm going to be structuring this video into three stages: the good, the bad, and the potential. The good is where we talk about what the characters offer to the game and what they're designed to do. The bad is where we get critical and how they fail to meet that design. The potential is the fun part, where you get to discuss what could be done to improve the character. I'll be discussing both characters at once, jumping between the two as we get through each stage. So let us begin with the technical role. In Ultra Rumble, there's all these different types of character role types. They don't act like character archetypes that you might see in another game like DPS or Tank. I see this discussion pop up from time to time, where people are just confused as to what they are, or what a character should be classified as. Ultimately, a role type does one or two things. One is going to be to do with these level cards, which ones automatically level up your abilities, or not so automatically if you feel like it. But more importantly, it's about the buff that you provide your team. The way I see it, the design of the character is about the type of buff that your character might be the most interested in. A strike character would want to prioritize a damage increase over anything else, whereas an assault character might get more value out of their abilities if they're not dying as fast. This is quite cool, as that means there's a lot of room to design a character, so the design can be focused on making an interesting and unique kit rather than trying to conform to an archetype. As to what the technical role does, well, it provides a reload speed boost. So what would you need in a character's kit to make reload speed more interesting? Well, one thing's for certain, it's going to have something to do with like cooldown management. There are two types of reload speed. There's the standard reload speed, which happens anytime that you're missing some ammo. And then there's penalty reload, which happens once you've exhausted all of your ammo, and now you have to wait for it to recharge in its entirety. Standard reloads are typically faster and may only restore portions of ammo at a time, whereas the penalty reload will leave the skill entirely inaccessible for the reload duration. But it will restore all of your ammo at the end. As to what makes each character effective as a technical character, well, we want to keep that question in the back of our minds. So, for Armored All Might, what makes Armored All Might interesting as a technical character? The values of standard reload and penalty reload will vary depending on the skill, but you could design a character in such a way that their goal is to manage their resources to avoid this penalty reload, since it's a penalty. A good way to achieve this is by constantly cycling out your abilities so that one can recharge while you use another. This even goes for his melee attacks, which of course do not have any cooldowns attached. Having a practical means to include melee attacks in between hits is really good for managing cooldowns. It's even possible for him to cancel his beta ability into a melee attack, emphasizing the practicality of transitioning between actions. Many of Armored All Might's abilities take inspiration from the students of Class 1A, providing him with a large variety of tools that can be used in many different situations. We've got a ranged attack, which can be used to freeze people in their tracks or focus on damage. There's Beta, which works as a ranged grab or providing mobility. And his special action has like 3 different applications to it, allowing him to dash forward, upwards, or float in place. This move set is far from simple, and the fact that everything transitions so well into each other is a good accomplishment. The Gamma uses drones, which is not so inspired, but works still just as well as the other quirk abilities. Jumping now to Tech Shiggy, I think there's one very notable way in which cooldown management helps him out with his kit, and that's all to do with Gamma Super Regeneration. While the skill is active, he can restore ammo to the move by hitting people with his other abilities. That means that Shigaraki can maximize the value of his regeneration by managing his cooldowns to restore some ammo whenever it gets low. Oh, and at least they considered the problem with using it outside of zone, so it just doesn't work there. With previous wall-piercing effects, I've criticized them for being basically impossible to hit due to the way that the aiming system works, always causing your shot to go the wrong way due to the character aiming at the point on the surface rather than the target you're intending to attack. With this season patch, they made some quality of life changes, and we've got this new alpha to thank for it. Basically, these moves will now ignore terrain while aiming, so as long as your crosshair is on the target, it doesn't matter if there's a wall in the way. Cool! Regenerating isn't so easy when you're constantly fighting people, so it's always good to put yourself into a situation where you can attack people while not being attacked back. That's where search comes into play. The Alpha Shot passes through walls, and Search provides a level of practicality in doing that. The ability to see through walls is not unique to Search, although Search does have much more practicality to it. It also has the unique addition of providing information like HP and GP values. Since this version of Shigaraki is a skill set, it's good to have some elements that are consistent across all versions of the character to help players transition from one playstyle to another. That way, all Shigaraki fans can enjoy all versions of Shigaraki. What makes sense to me is that Shigaraki is a character that thrives in the later parts of the game. This is certainly true for Strike Shigaraki, where his Pool of Decay will section off large portions of the already small zone. Similarly, the threat of being able to hit people through walls means that there is no safe place to hide. I think this also makes sense in the context of the canonical character, who greatly gains strength in the later parts of the series. This doesn't really apply to Assault, but So both Armored All Might and Thousand Handbrake Shigaraki have aspects of their designs that make them interesting as technical characters. In theory. In practice, both of these characters have a significant amount of design flaws that completely overshoot the expectations that would have made them feel very interesting in a competitive environment. Armored All Might is just a powerless dude in a suit of armor making his last stand. Everything about him was desperately forged in a last-ditch effort to not necessarily defeat, but at least buy some time against the incoming threat. When translating that to gameplay, strengths are fine to have, but the drawbacks need to be evident. When designers want the player to approach something in a particular way, it's important for the player to experience some sort of easily identifiable feedback. Winning fights when you're doing well, and a sense of friction when you don't manage your abilities with the right balance. As discussed earlier, Armored All Might's design gives him a lot of opportunities to spread out his ability use to give each of his abilities a chance to reload. To ensure that the player is conscious about their ability use, there's two big things that the design should want to consider: ammo and reload times. The ammo needs to be balanced at the right amount to give them some freedom to use skills without it being excessive. The penalty reload time also needs to be significant enough to deter the player from mindlessly spamming. I would say that this aspect of cooldown management is mishandled pretty much across the entire cast, and so the technical class, the class that focuses on it in particular, doesn't really function well in this regard. If anything, it encourages mindless spam even more due to low penalty reload times. You would think that a character that is focused on resource management would have abilities that could be managed. Alpha is pretty manageable since it's a value that gradually depletes, but Beta and Gamma are basically single-use skills. Well, I mean, Beta isn't for some reason, and Gamma uses ammo as a timer rather than a manageable resource. As long as we are considering these abilities that need to be restrained, we should also consider the power of these abilities. The technical class hosts quite a few characters with very powerful abilities that a reasonable person might want to put heavy restraints on. So we do need to look at every ability and judge them on their own merits. The Alpha ability has him fire either Fire or Ice Blast, costing 15 to 10% based on level, which is worth like 7 to 10 ammo when rapid fired. That is quite a lot of ammo. So the shot must be fairly weak then, right? Well, the damage values aren't crazy, but the ice shots can turn into a ranged stun when hitting 3 of them. And the fire has the most powerful burn in the game. Oh, and can we talk about like these hitboxes? Oh, and this camera is especially bad. Beta is an easy to land range grab, which I'm pretty sure is a competitive sin, one that they've committed time and time and time and time again. Black Whip is the only good range grab in the game, because the hitbox is small, has travel time, and has end lag. You have to be very careful when balancing range crowd control effects. Oh, and the range is massive and works as a free gap closer as well. Gamma. Well, this isn't too bad, it just does damage, and... Oh no wait, there's a third range stun. And this one has a homing effect on it. Oh wait, no, that's even worse. And you can do it during his stun? Your combo? No, my combo. For the special action, well, it shouldn't take much for it to realize that there's a bit of a problem in the power scaling. First of all, the float enables him to completely steal Nejire's niche. An actually sensible character. The flight upwards is ridiculously fast, and consumes very little ammo. And the dash, for some reason, takes a flat amount of ammo. And there isn't even like a significant restriction on turn speed or anything like Endeavor has. Oh, and this is a 400 HP character, by the way. So they decided to make it okay to make him extremely durable, with high mobility, and absolutely no downsides. When did we go from being able to pick people up to all the mobility you could ever want? The melee attacks are an important thing to consider since they have more relevance to his kit. And what you may have noticed is that they've been following a bit of a trend recently. The grounded attack has a massive lunge range, to the point that it looks more like a dash attack. They've done it 3 times now, and it's been stupid every time. You can't just give someone a high-speed dash for free. So in conclusion, Armored All Might is a technical character that doesn't need to manage his cooldowns, has range stuns on every ability, high mobility tank with exclusively easy to land attacks that all combo into each other. There is one person in charge of balance, and that person died in their chair, and nobody thought to check on him because they never asked for his opinion in the first place. Let's see how Shigi's doing. So Shigaraki, as I described earlier, what we want to be thinking about is super regeneration and how his gameplay interacts with that. So let's go over the details real quick and how that skill works. Upon activation, Shigaraki will begin gradually healing his health and shield. He gains some ammo back from hitting people. Did I say some? I meant basically all of it. And also getting hit. So every tick he gets 4 HP and 4 GP, scaling up to 6 of each. And if you consider HP and GP to both contribute to a total effective health, he's effectively getting up to 12 health per tick. That is more value than a single support card. Oh, but it gets worse. Revenge tuning effects activate every time the player's guard is broken. So as long as you have at least 1 GP, that's enough to trigger the effect. And he's getting at least 1 GP every tick of super regeneration, which means he's constantly getting his guard broken and activating the revenge effects. If you have revenge support and revenge assault, you're getting 7 additional HP and you are receiving 20% less damage, which is the same as 25% additional effective health. So the effective health recovered per tick started at 12, it goes up to 19 after revenge support, and with a 20% damage reduction buff, that becomes an effective 24 health per second. Maybe that's an oversight, but it's a pretty significant one. All because you decided to be a little bit quirky and give him a little bit of GP to go along with the HP, which was totally unnecessary. In the genre of a battle royale, resource management plays an important role. When you can press a button and do the job of healing items at any point, that pillar of design crumbles to the ground. Okay, so super regeneration is a little bit broken. Whatever, we'll come back to that again later. But the general idea still applies. You want to lengthen the duration of the heal, so you poke with Alpha. But tell me, does this really seem like an appropriate tool for poking? I don't know about you, but I think that's not very appropriate for this job. Not to mention, you only really need to hit once to restore enough ammo to top off your gamma duration. With the ammo you get, it just sort of feels like you need to spam until you hit once and it's mission accomplished. Oh, and that's like 159 damage per hit as well. Just putting that out there. Yeah, it doesn't really jive well with the design. It's almost like we had the ideal gameplay loop, and then you just completely fucked it up. Maximum reward on just one hit for a big enough hitbox that you don't really need to aim. Just keep spamming it until one hits and whatever. Just completely incomprehensible design. Speaking of incomprehensible, let's look at Beta. So this is like a big mega leap. Very fast, has a giant hitbox, and does massive damage. Oh, and it always hard knocks. And here's Deku. He kicks. How exactly is this comparable? Oh, but I guess it only hits on the ground, so as long as you're in the air, you're safe, right? Oh, but we can't have that. So they decide to put a hitbox on Shigi's body as he's flying toward his destination. Well, I mean, surely it's not as bad as the hitbox does the exact same total damage as the slam, which also hard knocks. Look, I just jump at him, and it does 205 damage. I think this might just be the single most incomprehensibly designed move in the entire game. Oh, and you can bug out the body hitbox so it's active constantly. Whoops. For whatever reason, the little sparks in the startup also have a hitbox, and I can just cancel it with a roll. And yeah, it's also restoring my gamma ammo without even needing to spend any alpha ammo, because cool game out of 10. Where was this at the Game Awards? Huh? We got snubbed. I can't believe they didn't like this. Before I move on, I just wanted to talk about how weird the ammo is with scan. So to perform a scan, all you have to do is go into aim mode and it spends 1 ammo. This is kind of unusual. I mean, I can just like keep tapping the button and I'm spending all of my ammo faster than any move in the game. Also, is this like the first move that spends ammo without needing to press the dedicated button? So in this case being my left click, I'm pressing a different button and it spends ammo, very strange. Okay, well that'll do. So to review, Armored All Might is what happens when you decide that you want to make the most carried character of all time. And Tekshi is what happens when the design team does a line of coke at work. But can we fix it? Yes we can! This is the part of the video where we talk about what could be done to improve these characters. Using mods, I've made various changes to the characters to try and get them into ideal positions. And this time, I've learnt some fun new tricks. Ultimately, Armored All Might is just a blatantly unbalanced character without any restraints. So let's start off by dialing back some of those strengths. First of all, as always, check out my cool new camera. When I go into aim mode, the camera switches to the left side. That's because the ice shots come out of the right arm, and the fire shots come out of the left arm. As for the shots themselves, the fire shot is noticeably smaller, and is the ideal aim-based range shot. The frost shot is good for close range, which is emphasized by the reduced projectile speed, making it less appropriate for fighting at range. I also found that I can actually change ammo costs without using cheats. It was a bit weird that they were the same cost, so I made the frost shot more expensive, now it's 30%. So really you can only get 4 shots in until you've run out of ammo. The fire shot is made more for consistency as the primary damage tool. So you can get a few more shots out, because it's only 20%, that means you can get 5 shots out there, it goes up to 7. So you'd want to play around with the reload time so it feels like that is a reasonable amount of reload time between shots, and that can recharge while you're doing something else. Up to the proper balance team to figure out how to do that, this is just the design. So you might want to make some changes to the reload speed, and also maybe the reload span. The reload span refers to the amount of time it takes before it starts reloading after you use it. So you can see it pauses for a moment. But what is especially important is that the penalty reload feels quite long. This is definitely far too fast. So if you use it too much, then you're gonna screw yourself over for a bit. So that makes the frost shot especially punishing. Beta! Having a range grab in the game is not a terrible concept, you just need to know how to implement it. That means having restrictions and drawbacks. What I've done is I've made it very slow. I think it would be cool to have some like electrical sparks on the animation to show the power building up. I don't think I can do this, but it would be cool if once you press the button, you can't turn your aim. Because it doesn't matter how fast or slow the animation speed is, because if you can just correct yourself at the last second, it makes basically no difference. Which is also how Denki works. Oh, and also it just like eats up all of your ammo. When using the air, Beta is more of a mobility tool. I'd probably remove the grab aspect of it and just have it focus purely on the mobility. So like this is fine, I don't mind that. But what I don't like is the stun effect whenever you hit someone directly. I've changed it at least so that they just kind of get pushed back, but that's not the ideal change I'd make, I don't think. Instead, I would say that if you shoot it towards someone, the wires stab through them, which can do some damage, but it does not stop the projectile, and it will continue to pass through them until it hits terrain. So if someone is in the air and I do that to them, then it's not going to do much. The most important thing of this move to retain, I would say, is the ability to use it as a gap closer so you can perform melee attacks. Honestly, my thoughts on Gamma is just to remake it into a new move. So here's the concept of an idea I had. Instead of being percentage-based ammo, you get a few charges. By tapping the button, it costs 1 ammo and it summons a drone. Instead of firing the drone, it will float around you like it does, But if someone were to try shooting at you, then it would intercept the projectile, completely defending you from harm. By holding the button, all of the drones combine into one energy shot, which is then fired in your aim direction when you release the button. So it is similar to the way that this works, but one, it has a bit more of a startup to it, so you can see it happening, you can see it coming. And two, it's not goddamn homing. Maybe a little bit of homing, but I digress. Certainly not like this. But when it explodes, you can say like, this works as like a multi-hit thing. So you could just have it do more damage or have like more hits done, hit count, based on the number of drones being fired. In my concept, it is a single projectile rather than multiple projectiles, so you only need to do like one hit check thing. So now the move is less abusable as an easy range stun, and has a protective aspect, and has a cooldown that is actually manageable. It still has some offensive capabilities, but it requires a bit of setup first, since you would have to summon each drone individually. If your opponent were to keep up the pressure with their projectile attacks, then it would limit the eventual output of the attack as well. So when you see drones, just keep shooting him. The main issue with the melee attack is just the lunge. While it would be better if the move functioned properly like a dash attack, for now I've just made it more in line with other melee attacks, so now it just doesn't have much of a lunge. It has a bit of a lunge, but not much. While I would ideally change tracking effects to have a much smaller range, I don't know how to do that. What I've done instead is just remove the ability to turn. So now it does this weird thing where it turns his body without changing his direction. Before I get into the special action, I want to bring up the topic of health. High mobility with high durability is not a great combination, so these changes would need to consider the other. I am not against the idea of this character being tanky. After all, it's a dude in a giant suit of armor. I did have this idea though, and then I constantly saw that idea being echoed elsewhere, but I assure you it did come to me first as an original idea. In the entire cast of characters, every character has 250 shield with a variable amount of health. What if we flip that on its head? He could have 400 shield with 250 health. The shield represents the armor, and the health represents the frail man underneath the armor. If the shield is depleted, then it's like if the armor has been damaged. If that happens, you see a visual change in the character showing the damaged state of the armor, and he loses access to special action. Recovering shield would then repair it. Is that a neat concept? There's a bunch of different functions for the special action, so we'll need to cover all of them. Firstly, the dash is a bit weird. It consumes all the ammo at once rather than progressively like the flight does. You can keep it that way if you really want, but the properties of the dash need some limitations. You can reduce the speed all you want, which is all I really know how to do. Meow. But what I think I would prefer is to have something like Reinhardt's charge in Overwatch. This move has this tank-like character dash forwards at high speed, but he's very limited in his mobility, just like how Endeavor is. That makes it feel very committed and works quite well with the fixed ammo cost, although I don't really like the fixed cost either, because you can just get a full value boost when activating at 1%. Flying directly upwards at high speed is very strong and pretty unparalleled. I think the most important thing to consider here is the ammo cost, and I feel similarly for the floating aspect. This pretty much steals Nejre's niche, and consider the amount of fuel you would need to keep this big suit of metal in the air. Yeah, nah, expensive costs, and a big old reload penalty for being too greedy with it. That'll do it. Fuel doesn't grow on trees, you know! I mean, let's not have that conversation. So hopefully, what we see now is a character is encouraged to make use of all the tools at their disposal to fight, with careful consideration to not be careless with their ammo usage. Relying on the machine would logically be less efficient than something baked into your biological makeup. So it makes sense to me that resources are harder to manage for him than most. Now let's take a look at some Shiggy changes. I would say I've made some more substantial changes for Tech Shiggy this time. Reason being, I'm trying to make some sense out of this nonsense. I would say that the most significant change here is to do with Alpha. To better fit the playstyle I'm going for, I've made the attack faster. I've also reduced the size a significant amount. Also, there's like no material on this, I just, you know, it came out like that when I had to import the model and it came with no material, and I do not care enough to fix this. The speed of the growth would make it quite a bit slower, because you can see this does not have a lot of range. But at max range, it's going to go pretty far, and I am locked in place for a while, and you have a lot more time to dodge it, particularly if you are far away. The drawback is that it would make you a lot more vulnerable due to you needing to wait for the entire animation to finish after firing. So I would also want to make a more mechanical change to it as well. The idea is that the arm will only continue to grow while you are holding the fire button. Once you let go, the next growth will be the end of the attack. I've demonstrated this idea by changing the length per level. So at level 1, this would be the first variant and would describe its minimum length. So if I'm just tapping the button, this is as far as it goes. So I can't hit people if they are too far away. One side effect of this is that, as you may notice, is that because the end delay is so short, the attack will only hit once rather than 3 times due to the hitbox quickly disappearing. To compensate for this, I'm thinking it would be good to make the end of the arm have a fist that deals a larger amount of damage. This rewards players for spacing out the attack effectively. Think of it like Tamaki's Tipper. Strike Shoto also has this effect where if it hits in the middle, it does damage multiple times, but right at the end, it does a single hit. To make this a bit more consistent, then the end fist hitbox can be a bit bigger than the arm. You can also consider making the max range of the attack change based on level variant to progressively gain more and more reach. With Surge, I would suggest changing the way that the ammo works to be percentage based rather than like free ammo here. That way you can continue to search without much of a time limit, but the ammo drains quite fast. Making use of Search to be as brief as possible would be the most efficient use of it. Also, I don't really like how Search activates just from aiming. I would think that aim fire would make more sense because then it would be like more deliberate. Sometimes I want to use aim to just like look around at things. It's not like there's like an aimed version of the attack anyway, so like it just reverts to the unaimed version anyway every time you fire. What's the point? It's also possible to change the delay of Surge upon activation, which is a nice way to make tapping at minimal ammo cost less viable. That, and you can have either the ammo start spending as soon as you press down the button, so it's even active during the delay, or you can have a flat cost up front. As long as these values are a good amount, I think Surge should be fine. It's not inherently unhealthy. Beta. I've outlined some of my problems with this move, so let's consider how we can improve it. If you know Marvel Rivals, you might know of Winter Soldier's ultimate where he jumps into the air and then he slams down on an area. I like this concept for a move, and when this move was first showcased, I thought that's where they were going with it. That is a far more sensible design. So let's see what we can do. I've changed some parameters to make the move more restricted to dropping from just above. So you see, you do not get much range out of this anymore. And you can't really use it for like mobility that much either. Wow, everything just immediately died. There is that platform. But just like in Marvel Rivals, I would probably like it if by activating the ability you would stay airborne for a moment so that you can easily aim it. So think of it like Strike Derby Alpha when he's in the air, it floats around for a bit like this. Same effect, but with Beta instead. When you use it on the ground, the concept I would settle on is to make him just like slam the ground in front of him instead of having like a big leap. You can think of it like Assault Choco's like Charge Alpha, where she does like the big swing so you can like react to it. One of the major problems with this move as well is going to be to do with the hitbox, so I like massively changed the hitbox so you actually have to, you know, aim. So like the mini hitbox in the middle is like the stun effect and hits immediately, and the outer circle only hits after a second. That's how the move normally works. So you can't just get rewarded simply for hitting the outside, like you do want to hit the inside. And it does gain some more range based on level variant. The inside always stays the same, but it's just the outside variant that's a bit bigger. So you still need to aim it no matter the level. Also, obviously, the body hitbox is just a problem. It's gotta go, man. It's gotta go. You could either make it be so it has like a simple knockback to it while including the actual hitbox, or you can remove it entirely. It doesn't really serve much purpose. Getting rid of it entirely is probably the way to do it. I especially just don't really think this should be like a mobility tool. That's kind of a dumb concept. If you want a bit of mobility, like, this is fine, and then you can do that or whatever. But you could also like use this and then aim it like that. Mobility creep is a problem. We don't need to give everyone loads of mobility options. This game is silly. Next, let's talk about super regeneration. For the regeneration, it seems that the heal amounts are fixed, so I can't actually change that. But ideally, I'd move the GP gains over to the HP gains. 4 of each becomes 8 HP, 6 of each becomes 12 HP, and after that, you can consider how you would rebalance that. Make it less, I wouldn't say more, but most importantly, I've changed the ammo that is restored from hitting alpha or beta, so it's a bit more sensible. So I'm not just like immediately getting it back. Now you have to continuously hit people if you want to maintain that ammo count. Maybe this is a bit harsh because of it being like level 1, but most importantly, you are no longer able to gain ammo back from taking damage, because that is just a absolutely ridiculous concept. I think super regeneration should mostly be used as a tool for healing mid-combat rather than a heal saving resource that can be activated at any time. I see two major means that help encourage this. Ensuring that the reload time is long enough that using it in a wasteful manner means you won't have it for a time in which you might need it, and the other way is to make the total amount healed feel insignificant if you're not prolonging the effect with attacks, which can be achieved through balancing the heal effect and the ammo capacity. Perhaps it would be good to make the ammo restoration feel like a flat amount rather than amount relative to the maximum ammo capacity. So percentage based ammo does not necessarily have to be 100 ammo with a percentage symbol attached. There are many skills in the game that are expressed as a percentage, but in the back end it has an ammo cost with a different number. In the case of super regeneration, it is simply just 100. So that if you have level 9 gamma on, then the amount of ammo being drained is reduced, and the amount of ammo gained back is the same. I'm saying change that so it's no longer working like that. Instead, make it so that if it is a low level gamma, it feels like you're getting a lot back because you're buying 5 seconds back per alpha hit, and then that would maintain for all levels. Perhaps you can make it a scaling amount as well, I don't know. Rather than the way it works now is like you are gaining back a relative amount. So let's say at level 1 you could be gaining 5 seconds back, at level 9 you could be gaining 10 seconds back per hit. That's just because the percentage regained is the same, but the drain is less. Hopefully I haven't made that too confusing. As an example, to make this less confusing, Armored All Might Gamma, you see how it works as like a timer? Because I'm at level 9, it has a slower drain, but when I'm at level 1, it has a relatively faster gain. That's because at level 1, it has an ammo capacity of 200, and at level 9, it has an ammo capacity of 300. So the jump from level 1 to level 9 means that you have 50% increased ammo, therefore your maximum duration is 50% longer. See what I'm saying? Hopefully, because I'm not explaining it anymore. So wrapping it up, overall what we see is more of a skill requirement with a much smaller hitbox on just about everything. There's more need to stay actively engaged with a fight, and super regeneration actually requires some effort to maintain. Effort is actually required to make this character make sense. Those are the highlights. So, now I'm going to give a final rating, like a grade, to each of these two characters. Previously, I've just described where I put them on my tier list, but now I'm going to change it into like a grade system. So, consider like C grade to be the passing grade, and I am evaluating them based on how much value they really contribute to the game. So if they are C grade, then they're adding more value than they're taking away. They are a good contribution to the game, even if only by a slim margin. So for Armored All Might, I will give this character an E grade. Any element of an interesting character is completely overshadowed by blatant power scaling. The several ways to stun opponents at range make the character completely miserable to deal with, and the size of the hitboxes, tracking effects, and homing missiles means that the character has a slow skill requirement to get good results with. Even worse, they couldn't even get his voice right.
I'll knock you out from far away.
That's right, if your game voices are in English, not all of them. Some of them are Japanese whether you like it or not, because clearly they checked their work before they sent it off. Quality assurance? What's that? We don't do that here. For Thousand Handbrake Shigaraki, I will be giving him an F grade. This character design was entirely incomprehensible, and absolutely minimal consideration was given to how this character would actually perform in actual gameplay. The oversized hitboxes greatly reduced the skill requirements expected of a competitive game. The ammo restoration rewards players far too much, butting heads with the expectations of a technical character, as well as making the very bizarre decision to restore ammo on taking damage. It's not much, but why was that even a consideration? Everything about this character just screams incompetent, and I'm seriously considering this to be the single worst designed character in the entire game. And thus, we end our character reviews. While these characters have enjoyable moments, and I wouldn't blame anyone for enjoying them for what they are entirely inappropriate for the context of a competitive multiplayer game. Transforming them into higher quality characters should not take away from that enjoyment, and should only enhance them by making the gameplay more interesting and engaging. Before I end this video, I do want to leave you with some thoughts. And my throat is absolutely dying. In this video, I've spent a lot of time being critical about the state of the game and characters. While to some it might come off as negativity, it comes from a place of passion. Some may have gotten into My Hero Ultra Rumble due to it being part of the My Hero Academia IP, but I always saw it as a game first, and I've met several other people who saw it the same way. So, given that the series is ending, it doesn't mean much to me. I originally came from games like Smash Bros. And Team Fortress 2. Eventually, we saw Overwatch taking inspiration from the class-based shooter elements from Team Fortress 2, along with the ability-based gameplay that you would see in games like League of Legends that had a thriving esports scene at the time. Eventually, we would see the Battle Royale genre gain popularity starting from like PUBG, leading into Fortnite and Apex Legends. My Hero Ultra Rumble innovates even further by combining elements from the hero shooter genre with the trending popularity of Battle Royales, along with some fighting game elements that stem from Viking's arena fighter roots. So while I didn't approach Ultra Rumble as a My Hero fan wanting to play the cool new My Hero game, I recognized the untapped potential that combined elements from some of my favorite games. I started making these critical type of videos as a fan of games and someone interested in their development. My hopes were that I could share my experience and my feedback could potentially lead to some changes in the future. But at this point, just what exactly can we do about this anymore? Is this game just going to forever be nothing more than another Bandai cash grab? Like, I am genuinely considering ways that I could get involved in the future of this game's development, but of course that's difficult to do for someone in my position and location, despite my relevant degree and my learning of the Japanese language. I didn't ever really get into game development as a job for various reasons. One being the lack of creative control I would get into projects. Sometimes things just feel very business oriented, which tends to conflict with my passion focused way of thinking. It was then later I discovered I probably had undiagnosed ADHD, which definitely would have played a part in that struggle. So yeah, that's how things stand. Will things improve in the future? Who can say? There may be some fun things on the horizon to look forward to. I say that recording this on a Monday, and I will give my thoughts at that time if it does happen. But that'll be all from me. Thank you very much for watching until the very end, and I will see you in another video. Bye bye!